If you're buying a property in Denton County that has an ag exemption or ag valuation, there's one mistake that I see buyers make all the time. They assume that they automatically get to keep that exemption. So when a property sells in Texas, the title company records a new deed. And what that deed does is it transfers ownership. Many will assume that when that deed transfers, that everything with the property moves to the new owner. And unfortunately, that's not the case. The county isn't looking at the deed. They're looking at how the land is actually being used. But it's even more important to understand how this works because once that deed is transferred, a new ag application will be triggered. So technically, the county says they may require, but I've always seen it as being the case. So once you buy that property, you'll be getting a form called the 1D1. That's the form tied to open space ag valuation. I know that's a mouthful. And what it really means is this property is being qualified based on the land use, not who. There's 3 times that you'll see this one application being used. One is when the property is initially trying to get the ag exemption or the ag use. The second is when ownership changes, like we just talked about. And third, sometimes the county is just going to question if that land is still being devoted to ag use. What is the county really looking for? They're not just looking for animals or hay or honeybees just to be on the property. They're looking for production. There's a lot of gray area. If you go through and read this stuff, it's all the county saying, hey, what's your production compared to other people in the county who are doing the same kind of ag use that you're doing? Another piece that will trip people up sometime is the history requirement. They want to see ag use for 5 out of the last 7 years. So I help clients all the time when they're looking to buy a property. I get on the county tax website because it'll show you which years was getting that ag use. So it has to be 5 out of the last 7 years. Also, something you might not know, you can get an ag exemption or have ag use if the land is in the city limits. But the history requirement is 5 out of the last 5 years. So it cannot be broken. What counts as ag use in Denton County? Some of the most common ones would be hay production, animals, and honeybees. But with each one of these comes what they call intensity requirement, meaning it's not just about what you're doing, but how intense what you're doing is compared to the piece of land that you have. Something else to talk about is the power of leasing. I see this a ton when it comes to honeybees, but if you're running cattle or goats or sheep, you don't actually have to be the one who's doing it. The animals don't even have to be yours. You can lease out your land to a rancher or someone who does bees. Totally okay to do. This last part is something that doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. So when you fill out that 1D1 form, if you're just buying property and you're trying to continue the ag use, the county is not just going to take your word for it. Denton County, I'm saying. There are some more rural counties in Texas that they do kind of take your word for it, or they'll have you send some pictures in. But now with technology, they're using aerial photos, they're flying drones. They're probably going to come and physically come to your property. So depending on how you fill that thing out, you have to make sure that you have evidence there. Okay, here's a little bit of advice, just a couple things to look for if you're buying property in Denton County. First one, make sure you know what kind of agricultural use has been done on the property or is currently being done, how long it's been in place. Remember the history requirement. Look out for that 1D1 form that Denton County should mail you. They should snail mail it to your address, but when you're moving, it might get lost. You can get this form online or you can ask me for it. I'll be happy to send it to you, but it will be required. So make sure that you have that thing filled out. Then make sure you have a game plan as you're closing on that property of either getting animals in there, getting bees in there, making sure you're going to bale the hay, have a plan set. Lastly, get prepared for a fight. So I have, on just my personal experience in talking to a lot of people, specifically Denton County, I love it. It's my favorite county in Texas. Born here, lived here a lot of my life, but they are really cracking down on the agricultural use. There's speculation I think it's a lot to do with money. Basically, the taxes that they would get on that land gets offset by the ag use. So it's the government, right? It's in their best interest to make that tax money. So be prepared to have a lot of back and forth with the county, to have to come out to the property for a lot of pushback. You can get through it, and I'll be here to help you out with that if you need help, but just get ready for a fight. So this is where this can turn into a problem, because if that ag valuation doesn't roll over to you as the new owner, you don't just lose the tax benefit. You could be looking at rollback taxes. Then those add up pretty quick. In the next video I'm going to do, we're going to dive into how that's calculated, what you might be on the hook for, because that's really going to hit your pocketbook, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen. If you're looking to buy a property in Denton County and you want a little bit of assistance looking at how you're going to finance it and just coming up with a game plan, please reach out to me. I really have a passion about this, and I'd love to help you out.